back with another episode. I want to ask you a few questions, but now that it can happen and it's been out for a minute now, what's been like your feedback? What you like the best about the feedback you've been getting?
For me, it's always good when somebody's reading my material, man, because I put so much effort, time, and dedication into writing these stories. And, I don't stop till I feel like not just I would be proud of this work, but anybody that read it would be proud of it. For me, it was never really about the money. When I decided I wanted to write a book, I knew I needed money, but it was never really about the money. It was about leaving this jail, being able to leave here every time I sat down and put pen to paper, creating my own blocks, my own neighborhoods, my own.
Like a mental escape.
Exactly. And sometimes even being able to have those nostalgic moments. I was a big party dude when I was on the streets. I used to party at the Savoy. I used to party at the Tunnel.
Good times.
I partied at the Madison.
I never been to the Madison. I've been to the Fever. I never been to the Madison.
The Madison? I met Ice-T at the Madison.
Oh, yeah? Where was the Madison at?
The Madison is in Manhattan. It's in Manhattan. And it was in Manhattan. This was in 1996. And I was in there partying with my man, CeeLo, and Gutter, Bang. It was like 4 or 5 of us, and, they had these stairs, and, Ice-T was coming down the stairs and I was coming up the stairs. And I was a little nigga. I was like 18, 19, but I was drunk. And I seen him and I just stuck my hand out and he shook my hand. And it was just crazy, I met Queen Latifah in the Tunnel.
Oh, yeah.
I hung out with Queen Latifah and Monifa, met them. Latifah was in a cherry red Porsche.
Yeah, she used to mess with her.
Security.
She used to mess with Monifa.
At the time, though, I'm 19. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm hanging out with these celebrities. I got their number. It wasn't just like one time. It was like I met them in the Tunnel. The next day, we hung out. We went shopping at Nighttown in Manhattan. They dropping paper. We dropping paper. The next day, we met at the Tavern on the Green in the Central Park. Oh, yeah. And the whole time it's oblivious to me that that they together or whatever. I'm just thinking, I was a big fan of Monifa. I was a big fan of Latifah. But it was dope though, man. They was dope. They didn't have no security. Like I said, Latifah had the cherry red Porsche, and we followed them. It was me and my man Lo, and it was dope, man. Who else did I meet? I met Queen Pen.
Oh yeah.
I met Queen Pen in 9/7. She was in the Benz promoting No Diggity, a song she had that was coming out with Ted Riley. And I think we was in the Act Cool, and we was on 45th in Harlem, and it was a summer day. We drinking champagne straight out the bottle. Her girlfriend like, yo, my friend wanna holler at you. So I'm kicking it with Queen Pen. I got the booger in my ear with the jacket around her, and she liked my earrings. And she was like, where you get them from? I tell her where I got them from, down in the Diamond District and all that. And she gave me her number. We start talking about coochie coupons, all this stuff, man. It was just crazy, man. And I ended up getting locked up.
Oh yeah.
I seen her in the hip hop magazine, and she had the same exact earrings that I had. In her pictures in the magazine. But yeah, I used to meet celebrities a lot, man, partying, man. That was my number one thing, man. Like, one thing about me, I like to have fun. and I can't wait to get back to it. But a lot of my writing, my early writing, it was about street people, street dudes, street chicks having fun.
Right.
You know, I'm telling a story of survival, a struggle, or it might be just some super wild gangster shit. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
But
so what?
You know,
Yeah, so that's how you get in the mind. That's how you get in the mind frame. You reminisce on the times you lived in the street as a young baller, and you bring those in and embellish on those stories and make them vivid. You know, but what mind frame did you get in when you said, "I'm gonna sit down and write"? It can happen to any of us.
Well, it can happen to any of us as a memoir. So,
okay.
The mind frame I was in was I was kicking it with DJ Coco Chanel.
Right.
You know, she was helping me out, and she asked me like, "Yo, why don't you write a nonfiction book?" And I was like, "I don't know." And in my mind, I was like, I don't know if I could do it. The short answer was, I don't know. But in my mind, I'm saying, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I'm qualified for that. I know a lot of shit.
Right.
You know, I got a priceless amount of jewels that I could share with the world about, you know, about the law, about the system, about the streets, about surviving in jail.
Right.
And, you know, I just decided I was going to accept the challenge. I went to school for writing. That's what a lot of people might not know. I actually went to school. I actually got a certificate in creative writing, and I graduated at the top of my class. And it started with one chapter. That first chapter was the birth of a brand. And this chapter talked about our journey with getting into the publishing game and, you know, maintaining creative control over our content and maintaining the rights to our content and, you know, the journey period. Meeting people that wanted to help us. And it was a story worth sharing, man. Just like, you know, from one book to having multiple books to being able to publish other people and being able to just provide services for other people. And it just started with that chapter. And then, you know, it went from the birth of a brand, and I wanted to do the 5 H's, which was another chapter, and it could happen to any of us. This chapter was a real mental chapter. It was almost a psychotherapy of some sort, because I was in a dark place when I came up with that concept for the 5 H's. And when I say a dark place, I had just had an appeal denied. And I got the mail from the attorney that was representing me. And I just looked around, and I'm sitting in a day room in the penitentiary. It's about 150 dudes in the day room. And I'm just looking around, and I'm just like in a twilight zone. Like, yo, this can't be life. Like, how you go from, you know, having it your way, doing what you wanted to do, being what you wanted to be, and they saying, this is it right here? Like, this is it? And I'm looking around, and I'm like, this shit is something different to everybody. Yeah. Everybody is seeing something different in this. This prison is something different to everybody. This guy, he's coming from pill line. He's hooked on psychedelic drugs. Not, you know, I won't say psychedelic drugs, but mental stuff for mental health. You know, and you got this guy, he in here hanging out. You got this guy, it's like a hotel to him. You got this guy, he's hiding out. He could have went home 5 years ago, but he's still here with me. I'm fighting to get across the finish line. He don't want to go to the finish line. And then I'm just a hostage. Like, I'm being held against my will for a crime I did not commit. And that chapter ended up being the first chapter in the book. I talk about how I was in prison hanging out as a very, very young dude, caught up in a culture of prison life that could be very toxic, very dangerous, and detrimental to your own health, to my own health. to fast forwarding 20 something years of this unjust incarceration, this unconstitutional conviction, to seeing myself as a hostage, being that beacon of light for dudes. Dudes can come to me when they got a legal question, or they want me to look over something, or they need tips on writing, or just general thoughts, just something.
Right.
Going from being that young dude hanging out in prison to being the statesman. That's what that chapter's about. All the mistakes I may have made,
right,
to being able to fix some of the mistakes that I've made.
Yeah. So when they read it, they're gonna see your growth over the years of how everything culminated into the man that you are now. That's dope.
Absolutely. That's the first chapter. The second chapter is called Mama's Baby.
Right.
And Mama's Baby is a personal chapter to me because, they putting us in jail at a young age, man, at a very young age.
Right.
Black and brown people, Latinos, poor white people, for long periods of time. And, there's two brands of justice in America. The brand for the rich people, the brand for the poor people, the brand for the brand for people who have active parents in their life, and the brand for people who don't have active parents in their life. So Mama's Baby is a chapter about how a mother should be with her child when that child finds him or herself in trouble.
Right. I always thought that was important for your book too.
It was, because I was by myself when I was being prosecuted.
Right.
I was by myself, but I knew I should. Go ahead, come on, oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of young men are like that. Even sometimes, even when you have your mother or your parents with you, if they don't really know or they financially are not able to get that support for you by getting you a competent lawyer, you still kind of be lost. You know what I mean? Without nobody.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
So
it definitely comes down to competent counsel.
Right.
But even prosecutors sit back and they watch and see who got support and who don't.
Right.
If they see a kid and they coming through this courtroom with no support, it's yard out.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna have it their way. Yeah. A lot of times, the cases where the prosecutor withholds evidence or cheats or rigs the game, or it happens when a kid is in a courtroom by himself.
Right.
He doesn't have a lawyer. He doesn't have any family. He doesn't have any support. And, that's how it happens. But on the flip side, you got that mother who is there every step of the way with her child. A prosecutor be a little more conscious of what he's doing, because he realizes that this is a resilient person, right, that will not let that bone go once they lock onto it. If something is not going right with their kid.
Right.
Those are the kids also that usually get the appropriate sanction, right, for whatever crime it is they committed versus the kid who gets booked on at them, the maximum.
Yeah.
So in that chapter, you got two scenarios that I juxtapose:
right,
black kid and a white kid. You know what I'm saying? They both locked up they both been charged with murder, being prosecuted for murder. The black kid, his mother's saying, "Yo, my son is up at the jail, running the jail. He good. My son don't need me. He all right." Whereas the young white kid, his mother's saying, "I'm worried about little buddy on a regular basis," and she's at every court hearing. She's knocking the DA's door down. They so tired of her. They want to give this kid a deal, right, so they can get this case off the books and over with. Right. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
The little black kid ends up with a life sentence, and the young white kid ends up with a 10-year bid. The crimes they're not far apart. So that chapter is an important chapter, man. And it was a book that I had to write. it was definitely a book I had to write. The highlight for me with this book is, you know, when I called Jason and Zoe one day, and Kalia jumped on the phone and she was holding my book in her hand.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
It can happen to any of us. Kalia Ali.
Right. That's dope.
The greatest of all time, the GOAT, the daughter of the GOAT.
Right.
That was a highlight for me.
Yeah, man. You went from not.
What else?
No, I was saying you went from hardly being able to reading on a 7th grade level.
What? 7th grade? I dropped out of school in the 8th grade, so I probably was reading on the 4th grade level. You know what I mean? We like 4 or 5 years behind in the public schools. But,
Right.
I think when the deck is stacked against you, you find ways to climb up out of your own way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, get it out that mud, man. That's it.
Yeah.
But we definitely gonna have to have you read some of the chapters to some of the people.
I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read from the book. It can happen to any of us. It's gonna feel like you listening to an audio book. I'm not gonna read the whole book,
No.
you know, but I'm gonna read some of it, and I'm gonna enjoy it. When I was a kid, I hated when the teacher picked me to read in front of the class because I couldn't read. And whenever they would call on me to read, I would reach in my pocket and pull out my inhaler and act like I couldn't breathe.
That's crazy.
And to think today that this is what I do. I write books. I read manuscripts on a regular basis. Somebody asks me to read their stuff, and I'm an avid reader. I'm always ready to take in knowledge and information and then turn it into knowledge. Because if you don't use something, it's just information. I don't care how many books you read. It's just information unless you do something with it and you convert it to knowledge.
Absolutely. That's where the power is, right? The actionable actions.
Right. So that's how I get into my writing mode. You know, I think about all the good times I had, you know, all of the, you know, incredible people I met. And it sets the tone for me. I sit down and I get busy. It starts with an intention, then it ends with a commitment.
For sure. So we talked about it can happen to any of us. We talked about your writing process. You know, is there anything you wanna share with the people?
You know,
any current events.
I want to share this with the people, man. We decided to do this podcast, the General Thoughts podcast, because there's a lot people don't know about me, and you can't just learn through hashtag 330, DJ Coco Chanel's documentary, all the other interviews I've done. You're not gonna get to tap into what I'm doing, and I figured the only way that I could like really bare my soul and share with the people who, you know, who interested in this, the type of relationships that I build despite the circumstances that I've been dealing with and living with for so many years. That was why we wanted to do this. That is why I wanted to do this. And I'm grateful for this opportunity. And it's just the beginning, man. It's just the beginning. It's going to be a process. It's not going to be a fast process. But we got some stuff coming, man. We got some stuff coming. We gonna have some support. And we're going to continue to do what we want to do, man. I just want to save lives, man. I want to save my life. That's always been everything I've done in my life since the age of 20 years old, being in prison for all my 20s, all my 30s, and now into my 40s, was to reclaim my life, to be vindicated, to be exonerated. I've been wearing the clothes of a guilty man for far too long. So while y'all listening, you get the glimpse into my life while I'm still behind the wall.
Right.
I'm still in the belly of the beast. They ain't regurgitate me yet. So you getting this is a part of history. When I get out there, everything I've been working hard for, I'm going right at that too. Movies, documentaries, getting out there in the streets, helping people that's similarly situated, trying to put their mothers, their fathers, their girlfriends, their wives, their grandparents in a position to be able to help them.
Yeah, man. Just bear with us. You know, it's a learning curve on it, but we are dedicated, and this is going to be great. I know so.
That's a fact.
I know so.
That's a fact. That's a fact. We street generals.
For sure.
Street generals is the movement, man. You know, every day, man, I pray. Every day, I pray to God. I ask for peace, truth, justice, freedom, and love.
What more could a man ask for?
That's it, man. Stay tuned, man. We appreciate y'all listening to this episode. This is episode 003.
So, till next time.
Peace.
Wait, don't turn it off just yet. I'm going to have Ty read you a little bit of It Could Happen to Any of Us, just to give y'all a little taste. Until next time.
Grinding all my life from It Could Happen to Any of Us. Ghetto movie star, a hood celebrity, playboy, gangster, a kid kingpin, and eventually murderer. By the time I was 20 years old, I'd been called all those things. A murderer wasn't given to me by the streets. That came from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I have always refused to accept it. The 90s was a very ruthless time in the streets. Gangsters, guns, drugs, and violence was front and center. What I didn't see in my neighborhood was an abundance of fathers. Growing up with just a struggling mother was to a lot of us a curse, because once we were a certain age, 13, they gave up on trying to mold us, even though we were still very malleable. Instead, mothers gave the attention and guidance to the younger siblings. Leading up to my arrest, prosecution, and wrongful conviction, my life was very tumultuous. Lots of ups and almost as many downs. But once I figured things out, I became known for two things: getting money and being with beautiful women. I started having a lot of money around the age of 17. And I was putting a lot of dudes on. The OGs said I was ahead of my time. The legendary dudes was taking me to lavish nightclubs, on boat rides, to shows, and giving me tips on how to stunt. I had a Rolex, I was driving hot cars. Can't omit the immaculate wardrobe that would rival today's drip. And this was all the rewards of being part of a criminal underworld. Where I come from, crime was a way of life. That's why movie producers depict it in films. That is why rappers lace their lyrics with the underworld happenings. I grew up mired in poverty, where opportunity was limited, and the streets were pretty much all we had. I'm quite sure we all know the famous Jay-Z lyric from Can I Live? Can't lie. All the time it never bothered me. At the bar, getting my thug on properly, my squad and me, lack respect for authority, laughing hard, happy to be escaping poverty, however brief. Y'all know those lyrics. I made a lot of bad decisions in my teenage years. The most critical was dropping out of school in the 8th grade when I was 13. The crazy shit is, I I was on the verge of finishing that grade. I'm no quitter by any stretch of the imagination. I just didn't know it back then. Today, our youth have so much opportunity. If you can read and you can write and you can communicate, you can make a better life without crime being the only source of light.